Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are working on the ISS here, and keep in mind, this is temporary. We have these here as functionally fuel tanks, and we're going to be ditching them soon enough. No doubt about that, as soon as we get this fuel utilized in some way, we'll be ditching this. Now, I am a little bit concerned about the angling on our Unity module. I would really prefer that it be lined up a little bit differently. I think we're going to wait to make any significant changes to that one until we have a space shuttle up here. I think that'll be the way to go for that. So we would just grab on right here. And then, well, we would grab on with it straight up and down, and then we'd angle it with the space shuttle. It'll be a little bit awkward, but that'll be the way that we're going to do that, just to make sure this thing doesn't fly away. In fact, we'll probably angle the station and then dock it with the shuttle, is probably how that's going to end up working. And we'll have temporary strutting, and it'll be a whole thing. Regardless, right now it is actually time for a shuttle mission. So let's head on back to the Space Center, and we can talk a bit about what this mission is going to be. So we're going to be launching the Z1 Truss module here, as well as another PMA mod. That was a very loud bird indeed. Okay, as well as this other PMA module here. So we're going to have a pressurized mating adapter, which we've got two of already. They don't exactly look like this, but close enough. And then this truss structure. Now, this is a berthing port here, which was only ever technically used once. We're going to have that be a regular docking port, but it's not really going to be heavily utilized. And then we've got this, this dish on this antenna-like structure out over here, but this is largely just kind of a box, right? And there's stuff inside of it, no doubt about that, but that's pretty much what it is. So, let's hop over to the VAB here, and let's get ourselves going on designing that. So we're going to need a PMA module, that's fine. Oh, and if we look at the positioning of these, the PMA module goes on the bottom or Earth-facing side. For us, that's kind of flexible at this point. But this is going to end up figuring out which is which. Right here. So this goes on the bottom, this goes on the top of the Unity module, and that's absolutely fine. So that's great. Let's load up our space shuttle, and I'm going to have this be the Unity module that we're going to base this off of. And so we're going to open up our cargo bay. We do not need to have the actual Unity module in here. However, we do need a PMA. So this PMA will do, and we're going to do this like I said before. But we're going to need to get this guy rotated on out of here. So for now, we're going to have this be at a 90-degree rotation. Okay. Now, how are we going to actually do this? I'm going to remove the PMA for now. And we need to think about how we want this to be set up. So, this is primarily this particular integrated structure here. Integrated truss structure. There we go. This controls a control moment gyroscope assembly. So that's an attitude control thing. So this is like the big gyroscope, right? So that's fine. It contains electrical wiring, communications equipment, and 2 plasma contactors designed to neutralize the station electric charge of the space station. Or the static electrical charge, rather. So that's reasonably fine. It also contains that common berthing mechanism that I mentioned, so a berthing port there, which there isn't in KSP a fundamental difference between docking and berthing, so we're not going to really differentiate. To that end, other things that this contains is a small pressurized dome that allows astronauts to connect electrical ground straps between Unity and the truss without an EVA. Sure. So realistically, that's a fair amount of things. Really, the gyroscope, I think, is the big one. So we want to have some sort of a, decoupler here. So I'm going to put in a decoupler. Or actually, not a decoupler, I think. I'm going to put in... I think we're going to have this be a grab arm here. And it would need to be grabbed on. I think having it be a docking port does actually work best. I'm going to utilize the shuttle's docking port for that. This docking port is not actually intended to be utilized in this way. So I don't want to leave that docking port on the module, right? So we're going to have this be here. So we're just going to position that right over here like that. Okay, so we're going to build it over here. That's fine. Then we're going to need to have our gyroscope. So I'm going to put in a large gyroscope here. These are round, so it'll be something kind of like that. This is intended to be like empty up at the top, although we are going to need that dish antenna because that comes out of the top, which this is the top. So that needs to be something that we remember. I want to go into our... Do we have any sort of a... We've got the Probodobodine QBE, but this isn't really the size that we're looking for. Okay, so let's go into structural here and see what our options would be for constructing something like this. We've got the not Rockamax micronode. That's very, very small indeed. We could make this out of, like, I-beams. I don't think that's a good idea. We could make it out of, like, these cargo storage units. Those are small. Yes. Very small indeed. We may have to have this be round rather than square. I'm not sure that we have an option here because the KSP-1 parts are kind of limited in this regard. Like, just looking through all of the parts that we have available, it's pretty much all designed to be round, right? Like, we've got the service modules, we've got lots of different things, inline clampatrons. These things are not really designed to support a square structure. So I think that we're going to have to make this be a round structure, and I don't like it, but I think we don't have a choice. So, we know that this contains some storage. I would be very, very interested in bringing something like an SEQ-24. And inside of this, I'd like to have a lot of struts. We know that we have the repair kits that we need. This is going to definitely be a lot of struts to fill this up. This would be enough struts to, in theory, strut down the entire station, or at least significant portions of it. So once again, this is going to take a while to fill this up. I'm going to do this off camera, and I will see you guys in just a moment. Okay, so I've got these all put in here, and while I was doing that, I realized we can differentiate between docking and berthing. If we make grab arms be how we berth, that's a theoretical possibility. So that's definitely a thing we can do. We do need to extend this module this direction a little bit. We could have that be, like, there's storage capacity here, right? We could have that be something like a fuel module, although we may want to, not that size, we may want to lift such a fuel module empty. And it needs to be a little bit larger than the FLTX size, yet smaller than the Kerbal size, so Rockamax size then. Gotcha. I think something like a 16 tank. We would lift this empty because we know we have spare fuel there right now. So it would end up being something kind of like this, and then we would have our docking port here. Now, I want to save this as the Z1 truss. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to put the NCS adapter in here for now. And the nose cone I'm going to attach up here because we're going to be unloading this in just a moment. So I'm just going to put this guy here for now. Okay. So we're going to save that, and I want to open up the Unity module because I need to double check which types of docking ports we have. We're going to be attaching this to the Unity module, right? So the Unity module has the small docking ports, I think. Double checking this. Yeah, docking port juniors. Okay, so the docking port juniors, the up-facing on here, yes, that looks good. So we're going to need to then open up our Z1 truss. Things are a little wacky here because this is a work in progress, but that's fine. So we're going to detach this nose cone again for now, and this then needs a docking port junior. So we're going to grab our docking port junior, And then we have one berthing slot on here. And it doesn't really matter where this needs to go, but we're going to put a berth on here. Do we want to use an inline clampetron for this? That could be an interesting thing. And then, like, clip that in. Hang on. What is this even doing? Is that not a docking port? Okay. Well, that's definitely interesting. So we could certainly do something along those lines. So this would just end up meaning that we would rotate it kind of like this. Maybe clip it in a little bit. Like that. And then that would be our berthing port. That seems pretty decent. I expected it to have claws, but apparently it doesn't. I mean, it's a clampetron, so that would be a docking port, technically. Yeah, that would be. So there is that. It would be a docking port. Alternatively, we could simply remove it and use, like, an advanced grabbing unit or an advanced grabbing unit junior. And I think that is the way I'm going to end up going here. Just to have some sort of a, like, mechanism differentiation between docking and berthing. So it'll be something kind of like this. Now, this is obviously not intended to have this docking port stay there. So this docking port is going to be staying with the shuttle. And then this gets attached like that. On top of... And then this gets attached to the station here. On top of this, we need to have some form of a very tiny hinge, I feel like. So what is the smallest hinge that is available? This guy? Yeah, something like that. So a hinge there. We honestly don't even need this to be extendable, I don't think. But I want to take a quick look at our... Okay. So looking at this here, we're thinking about this structure here, and I don't like that we've roundified this, but it is what it is. So taking a quick look at this is essentially being represented by our hinge, and then we've got like an arm and then another hinge, right? So that's how that's going to be represented. And we can fold that up however we need to. I'm just going to use a 1P2. This does not need to be very extended. And we're going to grab ourselves our small little hinge here. There we go. And we're going to put on I think an RA-15 relay antenna. It's maybe kind of large. Maybe we just go with an RA-2. Yeah, with the truss variant. I like it. Out of curiosity. Yeah, that's a larger version. Okay. So something like that would be what this would be doing. Cool. So now, of course, we can fold this back in, and we can see it gets put together like so. We might be a little bit off on our mass. We'll see. We're going to need to bring this guy on up. I want to not be grabbing the NCS adapter. What I want to grab here is actually the clampetron docking port. So we're going to bring that up, and we're going to put that guy... I don't really want these clipped together. I think we're going to do this. So that means that we would put the PMA in first. So we would bring this guy right on down. That would get assigned right there. It does get... It does clip a bit. So for the time being, we're... nope, I hate it. We're going to need to move this back out. Okay. We can't really work within that docking bay. It's really tough. So what we're going to do instead, of course, is we're going to center this. Yeah, that's going to be better for mass distribution as well. So that'll be a much, much better solution there. So we're still going to be clipping slightly through over here with the berthing, but that's fine for now, I think. The PMA definitely clips up into the cockpit a little bit, but I'm sure it's fine. So we're going to have some better ways of deploying this. We're not even going to use the arm at all for these deployments. And that'll be fine. Things will be a lot smoother here. So let's send the Z1 truss module off to the ISS. We're going to put this out on the pad. Actually, I want to double check our staging. Yeah, staging looks fine. Ish. Yeah. This engine plate never actually needs to get used, but there we go. So we'll save that, and let's put it out on the pad. The question is, when are we going to launch this, and how close are we going to get to the correct inclination? A big part of our fuel issues last time, because we definitely did run low on fuel, although we definitely didn't run out on fuel on the ISS. A big part of that was that I just got a little greedy on carrying the SRBs. We're going to try not to do that this time. And the ISS is currently in a quasi-okay direction here. This is not bad. Let's warp forward a little bit. Hang on. Stop it. I don't want to be following Sputnik. I want to be focusing Kerbal here. We're just keeping an eye on this. Okay. We're going to be off a little bit any way we slice it. Let's do this. Surface, up, let's go. Phenomenal. So off we go. Oh, that's moving like a pendulum. Okay, that's clearly not supposed to work like that, and it wouldn't in reality. I'm just going to revert that back, and we're just going to strut it in. So that'll be absolutely fine. I'm a little surprised that it's doing that, but I think it's probably just due to, like, the mass in there. Now, to be clear... No, I don't want to move these. Get out of here. To be clear, this Rockamax tank is empty, and that is by design. But what we're going to do here is I'm just going to run a pair of struts that are going to go from... And I'm going to do this in mirror symmetry mode. We're going to run them from here to here. And that should solve the problem. Okay. So those struts will, of course, have to be removed before we can get this thing deployed, but that'll be fine. Once we get in space, it won't be a big deal. But yeah, that pendulum swing that was doing and just clipping through the entire world, yeah, it's not great. So we're going to get that fixed. No problem whatsoever there. That's just because of the docking port junior. I'm not super shocked about that. Okay, let's just launch this right now. I'm going to do surface up and throttle up. I want to double check our timing. We did warp forward a bit before, so that'll be fine. We're going to set you as our target. Okay, let's just let this get nearly aligned-ish. It's not going to be perfect, but it's good enough. So off we go here. I was slightly late on throttling up there. I thought I had already throttled up, but apparently not. That's okay. So we're just pushing our way on up here. And then we're going to burn towards target for a while. Once our target starts going on this, like, almost 90-degree inclination, because I think it's going this direction, right? So we're going to start burning towards target here fairly soon. But I think not quite yet. We're going to have to change our inclination almost certainly. I'm not expecting to launch directly into the target. But we'll see. We'll see what this ends up looking like. We're still feeling that one out. So let's head on over to the target as soon as we hit, I think, 20 kilometers here. We know this thing is quite maneuverable. And for now, we're just heading right on up. So, 20 kilometers. Let's point at target. Cool. So upwards we go here. And I don't know how bad our ascending-descending node is going to end up being here. It's chilling at 52.6. Okay, now it's 52.5. Sure. It should start to get considerably better. Yeah. But again, I'm not expecting this to be a perfect launch by any means. Not by any means at all. Okay, so our SRBs are out. And we're going to be carrying these up. For the time being, I want to go over to horizontal velocity up. Because I want to be getting just horizontal speed right now. We're going to burn here for a little bit. We've got this tank nearly halfway burned out. We definitely need a bunch of horizontal speed. We have a lot of vertical right now, and not a lot of horizontal speed. We're keeping an eye on this descending node here, but it seems to be reasonably okay. And we're just going to keep burning here for now until we hit, like, I don't know, like 150-ish. Somewhere around there. We're still changing our inclination here. We're like 30 degrees off. That's to be expected. Okay. Like I said, yeah, like 150 or so. We're going to be burning out this tank very, very shortly. We should actually cut our throttle now and ditch these guys. So we're going to wait for them to clear our wings and resume our burn. Okay. There we go. That's going to be a lot more efficient. We're very wiggly at this point, which is not shocking. That is reasonably expected indeed. And our ascending node is continuing to change here. I want to bring us on over this direction for now, and just be launching into approximately the correct inclination. So 10 degrees, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's going to be about as good as we're going to get for now. Okay, so engine shutdown. We're in approximately the correct inclination. We have not entered orbit yet, so we need to circularize this on out. That's going to be a fair amount of delta V, to be sure. A fair amount of delta V here. Come here, maneuver. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be mostly done on our orange tank, but not quite entirely. Noted. We've got 1104 here. Sure. So we're going to have to transfer this into orbital mode, of course. Let's get into position here. This is going to put us into an orbit, though. So I think that all we do here is we burn this out, and then once this is gone, we call it good as far as getting into this orbit goes. So that'll be fine. We're in a close enough inclination. We've got about 30 seconds until this burn. 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, I'm throttling us up a bit gently so that we don't just kick this in a weird direction. But there we go. We're going to burn out all of this fuel. Once it's gone, then we're going to transition over into space mode. And we'll call that good on our orbit, because we should definitely be in orbit by then. So this is a much better launch than our previous launch, no doubt about that. We've got a lot more fuel, and we've got fuel waiting for us at the station as well. So that is all absolutely great. We're not quite in orbit yet. 30, 20. Okay. So that's all of it. We're not quite in orbit here. So I'm going to continue to burn here. We're burning our internal fuel stores now until we're in orbit. There we go. So now we're in orbit. We can easily decouple this guy, get out of here, and we can reconfigure for orbital flight, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to head on over this direction. Downward we go. And we're going to grab on here. So now, of course, we need to remove these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's not one over here. So now we can change our angling here. So target angle is now 0. Perfect. And let's strut this back on. So 1 here. Technically, this is good enough. 1, 2, 3, and finally 4. Perfect. We can get rid of these. They're unnecessary. That's just dead weight at this point. So that's all fine. Or we could keep them, you know. Actually, one of these should be going here. There we go. Now we're good. Yes, 3 is the correct number. So that's all good. Those were used to attach onto our various attachments. So that's all good. We are configured for orbital flight now. And we're going to grab on here. And let's climb on in. So, how are we doing on our inclination? The answer is... What is this? Okay, we don't actually want that maneuver. 1.8 degrees, that's really not too bad. That's really, really not too bad. So let's see what it would look like if we were to attempt to go for a rendezvous here. It's going to take some timing. I'm not surprised about that one. Yeah, so somewhere around here-ish is where we'd want to do it. But we can see that it's very awkward timing, so we want to bring this around. That's much better on the timing. Much, much better. 23 kilometers, that's doable. 169.1 meters per second. It is time to put a cut in here, though, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to be attaching these new parts onto the ISS. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.